A guy took the hunter exam, and completely blew the minds of the world's top S-rank elites. All because he took down a top rookie in the hunter world using nothing but basic hand-to-hand combat. This scene left all the examiners in absolute disbelief. Even the strongest fighter of an S-rank guild couldn't hold back his fighting spirit, itching to step into the arena himself to test the absolute limits of this guy's power. But little did they know, back in another world, this man was the invincible gun god who fought for 80 years, single-handedly obliterating the Demon King. After completing his mission, he was completely exhausted. So, he made one final request to the goddess. He asked her to send him back to Earth, keeping all his experiences and memories perfectly intact. The goddess agreed. However, his original body on Earth was long gone. So, she decided to place his soul into a brand new vessel. Suddenly, a blinding light crashed down on me. It turned out, my new vessel was a body on the absolute brink of death. But the goddess believed in me. She knew I would use this body to live a spectacular new life. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on Earth. That damn alternate world had put me through absolute hell. Now, I was finally home, and my new body belonged to a teenager. I turned on the kitchen faucet and saw pure, clean water flowing out. And with just the push of a button, I had fire. Now this is the best kind of magic. To hell with the mages from that other world. Plus, Earth still has my absolute favorite food, fried chicken cutlets. The real texture brought tears of joy to my eyes. This is what real food tastes like. Fighting in that other world for 80 whole years, I never had a single decent meal. Now, I could finally live a normal, peaceful life like an ordinary person. But what I didn't realize at the time was the ominous red light flashing outside my window. I hopped into the shower for a nice, relaxing wash. Even though I was severely out of touch with the modern world, I firmly believed that a beautiful, easy life was right around the corner. But suddenly, a horrifying, monstrous face pressed right up against my window. It scared the living daylights out of me. What the hell was a thing like that doing on Earth? Just then, a public broadcast blared from behind me, issuing an emergency alert to all residents. A corruption rift had appeared in the apartment complex. The broadcast ordered everyone to evacuate to the underground shelter immediately. I had no idea what a corruption rift was, or what the hell was going on. And then, I saw something that chilled me to the bone. The glass of my window was completely swarming with those humanoid monsters from earlier. Their sharp claws were just seconds away from shattering the glass. The very next second, they smashed through, and I bolted out the door. Clearly, the Earth I was standing on was no longer the Earth I remembered. I needed to figure out exactly what was going on, and what the deal was with these humanoid freaks. They looked suspiciously similar to the monsters from the other world. I quickly hid by the edge of a window, letting the horde pass by. Once the coast was clear, I slipped out through the window. I figured my best bet was to follow the broadcast instructions and head to the shelter. But right then, I spotted a kid up ahead. I was about to grab him and make a run for it, but to my shock, he was turning back to face the monster horde. He had a baby face, but his eyes were filled with absolute determination. He was seriously planning to wipe out those monsters, and even asked if I wanted to tag along. I was honestly baffled. Were kids these days really this reckless? From talking to the kid, I found out that Earth had been like this for 13 long years. Corruption rifts were basically portals that spawned monsters, and absolutely nobody knew how they formed. Or when and where they would pop up next. Hearing this seriously killed my mood. I went through absolute hell just to get back to Earth, only to find out it had turned into a literal living hell too. I asked the kid who the strongest hunter was right now. Without missing a beat, he answered straight up. He blurted out Lee Si-yoon's name. She's part of the Carnaby Guild. That guild is top 10 on Earth, and she wields a massive greatsword. Right now, she's out in Sherwin, clearing a corruption rift. But even with badass hunters in this world, seeing an ordinary kid trying to fight monsters? That's just wild to me. Suddenly, I clamped my hand over the kid's mouth. Shush, keep quiet, I whispered. Monsters coming. I squinted into the distance. There were 5 of them up ahead. But, I knew better. Sure, I could see 5, but there was another one hiding in the shadows. Thank God this body still has superhuman strength. Taking out a few run-of-the-mill monsters shouldn't be a sweat. The problem was, I couldn't guarantee I'd keep the kid safe in the middle of a brawl. But I couldn't just ditch him either. While I was racking my brain for a plan, it hit me. A deeply familiar sensation. Faint blue wisps of energy were drifting through the air. Wait, is that mana? Yeah, now I was absolutely sure. It's exactly the same as the mana from the other world. In a split second, one of the monsters right in front of us burst into raging flames. Yep, that was my doing. Sure, the mana I'd hoarded for over 80 years was completely gone. But as long as there's mana in the air, I can pull it together. Which meant, I could still use my soul-bound flame. The firepower was a little underwhelming, honestly. But to roast these creeps? More than enough. The kid's eyes went wide with pure awe. Whoa, you actually have a unique skill? Before I could stop him, the brat charged forward, trying to kill the monsters himself. Seriously? I was speechless. The things aren't even dead yet. What the hell are you charging at? Just as I figured, the pack of monsters instantly locked onto him. The kid froze in sheer terror. Thank God I lunged and grabbed his arm just in time. Hey, hand me that stick on the ground, I snapped. I need to borrow your weapon for a sec. A second later, 3 shadows darted straight at me. The moment my fingers wrapped around that stick, my entire demeanor shifted. Whoosh. I spun the staff, the air whistling sharply. In one fluid motion, I sliced all 3 monsters clean in half. Ah, there it is. The glorious feeling of being the spear god. The kid's jaw hit the floor. He was absolutely mind blown. He knew right then that I was no ordinary guy. He probably thought I was some hidden, badass hunter. Little did he know, I was actually pissed off. I went through pure hell just to get a quiet, peaceful life. And now it's turning into this crap? A few minutes later, still scowling, I walked the little brat down into the underground shelter. The kid's mom spotted him immediately. She rushed over, crying and apologizing over and over for the trouble. You must be the one who saved my boy. Oh, thank you so much. I blinked, noticing her designer clothes. Ah, so the kid's a rich little heir. No wonder he was acting so cocky out there. But right at that moment, boom, the entire building started violently shaking. And just seconds later, a massive monster smashed the front doors to pieces and barged right in. Pure chaos erupted. Everyone was running for their lives. But me? I just stood there, completely still. The kid spun around, screaming at me to run. Run, even you can't beat that thing. He yelled, but I didn't budge an inch. I really thought I had finally made it back to my normal, familiar world. But nope. This place is exactly like the hellhole I just escaped. I glanced down at the kid. Hey, brat, I asked. Aren't you guys loaded? Why the hell do you want to be a hunter? Just find a safe bunker. And live a nice, cushy life. Wouldn't that be better? The kid looked at me, crying. My dad, he choked out. My dad was killed by them. Their family was actually hiding in a shelter too, but his dad was still killed by a monster right there inside. That was when the kid realized, there is absolutely no safe place left on Earth. So he made up his mind to become a hunter. To become the absolute strongest hunter in the world. To wipe out all the corrupted rifts and save this world. Even though you might find my words funny. He didn't even get to finish his sentence before I cut him off. I did smile, though. But it was a smile of pure relief. You are definitely going to become a great hunter. But it's such a pity, you won't be the one to save this world. As soon as I said that, the kid's mom desperately yanked his arm, trying to get him to run away. Right at that moment, a massive, deafening crash erupted right behind them. When the kid whipped his head around, he was completely stunned to see that the monster they were so terrified of had just been slaughtered by me, single-handedly. The reason I told him he couldn't save the world is because I'm the one who's going to do it. After all, when it comes to saving the world, I've got a hell of a lot of work experience. After taking care of that monster, I headed back home to get a grasp on things. I needed to gather some basic intel about this world. That's when I also realized my bank account only had a balance of 3,001 left. The original owner of this body used to be an employee at a logistics company. But because of the corrupted rifts, his company went bankrupt, and he lost his job. Just as I was trying to figure out how the hell I was going to make some money to survive, I saw a hunter recruitment ad pop up on my phone. Time flew by, and soon it was the very next day, right inside the Hunter Association headquarters. Today, they were hosting a massive selection ceremony, and this event had drawn in a ton of hunter scouts. They were all looking to poach fresh talent from the rookies to join their guilds. But one of the scouts couldn't help feeling that there just weren't any standout rookies in this batch. They're all just a bunch of nobodies, he thought. However, this hunter selection exam also managed to attract Lee Si-yoon, a hunter ranked in the global top 10. Everyone was staring at her with pure awe. She's someone you normally only see on the news. I can't believe we actually get to see her in person today. She must be here for Han Sang-ah, the top grad from the Hunter Academy. She awakened the electrokinesis ability, after all. But what they didn't know was that Lee Si-yoon didn't care about her in the slightest. At most, she just viewed her as a walking, talking power bank. A colleague standing next to her mentioned that Han Sang-ah's ability could actually be pretty useful. Right then, the man beside her adjusted his sunglasses. Even if they perform brilliantly in the academy, it's incredibly common for them to completely choke in actual combat, he said. This blunt reality was exactly what Lee Si-yoon loved to hear. So, she tossed a piece of candy to her colleague. Here, a candy for your excellent observation. Real combat and controlled training are two entirely different beasts. For those academy kids who've only ever done safety drills, handling the brutality of a real fight is extremely difficult. It's going to take Han Sang-ah a very long time to adapt. Very soon, the matches down below were about to begin. Lee Si-yoon looked down with keen interest. I really hope I can spot a hidden gem this time around. Show me what you've got, rookies. Show me the kind of power that makes me desperate to recruit you. Down in the arena, the announcer looked at the next contestant's profile and paused in utter confusion. Wait, he's just an ordinary civilian? He hasn't even attended the Hunter Academy? At that exact moment, I zipped up my combat suit, my hand firmly gripping a weapon. The announcer was still openly mocking me over the mic. Just how much nerve does this guy have, daring to stand on this stage? And now entering the arena, contestant Yu Chan Sok. To be completely honest, deep down, I still wasn't quite used to this new name of mine. Now, the rules for this match were simple. You could only use the weapons provided by the association, and you absolutely could not inflict any fatal injuries on your opponent. My plan was clear. I was going to ace this hunter exam, and use it as a stepping stone to secure absolute power and authority. The cocky blonde punk standing across from me was smirking. It was obvious he didn't view me as a threat at all. As the referee raised his hand high into the air, this thrilling first match officially began. The second the match started, the blonde kid charged straight at me. He was totally hyped, thinking his opponent was just a total loser who couldn't even gather a single drop of mana. But, as he came rushing at me with all that fake tough guy energy, my face stayed deadpan. To me, this blonde kid was literally nothing but wide open weak spots. A second later, I just slammed my weapon right into the dirt. And then, right in front of his shocked, wide eyes, I completely vanished. The kid was totally confused. Wait, is he a speed type hunter? But by the time his brain finally caught up, I was already standing right behind him. Man, your spear technique is absolute garbage. I don't even need a weapon for a punk like you. Boom, I buried my fist straight into his gut. That single punch hit so hard, the kid almost puked up last night's dinner. But just as he was about to collapse, I kicked him right back up. And followed it up with a vicious uppercut, completely cracking his jaw. The cocky blonde kid from 2 seconds ago? Yeah, his eyes were rolling to the back of his head. Honestly, that kinda stunned me. I mean, I knew he was weak, but he went down way too easy. And look, the only reason I fought barehanded was because I was scared my spear would literally kill him. But then, I figured it out. He was just a total newbie. There's no way this was the average level for a hunter. Meanwhile, up in the stands, Lee Si-yoon was frozen in absolute shock. What the hell is up with this guy? She frantically flipped through my file, only to find out I worked at a totally normal logistics company. Her coworker leaned in and whispered, "This kid has 0 mana built up in his body. To hit with that kind of raw power? He'd need to have been absorbing mana for years. If that's not it, then this has to be pure, dumb luck." But as for his rambling, Si-yoon just shoved a piece of candy in his mouth to shut him up. Because in her mind, she suspected I was hiding my true power on purpose. Back in the arena, I cracked my neck. Man, I felt a little stiff. But, to really prove what I could do, I needed to finish him off. Fast and clean, I stepped right over his trembling body and pulled my fist back. "Relax, Blondie, this one won't kill you." But the kid was already pissing his pants, sobbing and begging for mercy. Bam, one hit, and he was out cold. The whole arena was buzzing. Every hunter scout was talking about me. But while they were busy gossiping, Si-yoon decided she was going to test my strength herself. Her partner asked where she was running off to. She just tossed back, to see the association president. I need him to do me a massive favor. Meanwhile, my matches kept rolling. But honestly, the results were all exactly the same. Not a single one of them could even last 3 moves. Like, what the hell is this Hunter Academy? Actually teaching these kids? How do you train someone to be this utterly useless? Finally, after tearing through half the roster, someone who actually looked decent stepped into the ring. The second she walked out, the crowd went wild. It was the top candidate, Han Sang-ah. Everyone was dying to know, could she actually put an end to the mysterious Super Rookie's winning streak? I just gave her a quick look, and my interest instantly peaked. Why? Because out of everyone I'd fought today, she was radiating more mana than anyone else. But man, Han Sang-ah sure had a big mouth on her. "You've survived on pure luck so far," she sneered. "But your luck just ran out." I just scoffed internally. Seriously? Do they teach you guys these exact same cringe one-liners at the Hunter Academy too? A second later, Han Sang-ah slowly drew her blade. Her eyes suddenly flared with a sharp, golden light. "I'm guessing, you don't even have a special skill, do you? But that doesn't mean I'm gonna go easy on you." Her words actually caught me off guard for a second. How could I not have a special skill? I was just afraid you'd get seriously hurt if I actually used it. I watched as she took a deep, long breath, immediately dropping into a low crouch. Right around her hands, you could see this intense current of air gathering up magic. Golden lightning crackled across her blade, making the entire sword tremble with raw power. Now that definitely got my attention. A split second later, she lunged forward in a blur. A brilliant teal light exploded outward. But despite all that time she spent charging up her quick draw strike, it didn't even leave a scratch on me. I just leapt up and dodged it completely. Han Sang-ah was absolutely speechless. He actually dodged it? He dodged my lightning draw with just a simple jump? Hanging there in midair, I gotta admit, I was pretty amused. By running an electric current through the scabbard and the blade, she magnetized them both. Then, she combined that magnetic force with the momentum of her draw, basically turning her sword into a freaking railgun. A second later, I landed smoothly back on my feet. Out of everyone so far, your technique is definitely the best. But you missed one massive detail. And that's your timing on when to strike. You were way too obsessed with just being fast. Her fatal flaw was that, to maximize her acceleration, she had to lay down a literal magnetic track in thin air. So it didn't matter how fast or strong she was. No idiot is gonna just stand there and take a hit when the attack path is that painfully obvious. Han Sang-ah was fuming. She refused to accept it, convinced that I just got incredibly lucky. Ripping her sword from its sheath, she instantly launched another furious assault. I don't even need that move to crush a loser like you. But to her absolute dismay, I casually dodged every single one of her frantic strikes. Are you actually an idiot? I literally sidestepped your fastest move. What makes you think these sloppy swings are gonna hit me? That completely pushed her over the edge. Her mind just stopped working entirely. She was completely consumed by pure, blinding rage. And in that frenzy, she decided to unleash her ultimate attack. I could tell the second she started that she was violently forcing her body to channel way too much magic. If she kept pushing it like this, her own body was going to literally rip itself apart. In a split second, I flashed right in front of her face. That little stunt earlier was pretty cool, but we are officially done here. Right before I threw the punch, I couldn't resist dropping one last mocking piece of advice. Hey, if it hurts too much, just raise your left hand. And then, bam, I buried my fist deep into her stomach. Now, I definitely didn't use my full strength, but it was still enough to make her violently cough up stomach acid. Seeing that she was completely broken, I unleashed a brutal flurry of punches, completely battering her face. Finally, I delivered one massive, bone-crushing right hook straight to her jaw. Taking a hit like that, her eyes rolled back as she completely lost consciousness. Thud, the Academy's highly praised golden girl didn't even come close to beating me. Instead, she was lying there, completely demolished at my feet. The entire crowd was left in dead, stunned silence. He actually crushed Han Sang-ah? But, she's one of the top students in the whole academy. Because I looked like a nobody, the crowd honestly started whispering that she was nothing but an overhyped fake. They figured she must have relied way too much on her fancy magic, completely neglecting her actual physical training. Just then, I heard a slight rustle behind me. For a second, I thought the crazy girl actually wanted to keep fighting. But when I glanced over my shoulder, I saw her weakly reaching up into the air, with her left hand. Her entire body was limp, just completely out of it. There was absolutely zero chance she was ever getting back up. I actually had to laugh at that. I did tell her to raise her left hand if it hurt too much. But I really didn't expect her to actually do it. Man, what a good, obedient little student. Just then, one of the arena staff members started sprinting frantically toward the referee. Someone whispered something into the referee's ear, and the ref's frown just kept deepening. Right after that, he turned around and made a huge announcement to the entire arena. The match schedule has been updated. The winner, Yu Chan-sok, please take a short break. That completely threw me off. Wait, hadn't I already finished my matches? Why was he telling me to rest up for another round? But his very next words answered my question. In just a moment, our victor, Yu Chan-sok, will face off against an active duty hunter in a special exhibition match. This match has been granted special permission by the association president, and everything is set to go. Everyone's eyes glued to the name flashing on the giant screen. Seeing the crowd go absolutely wild like this, I figured it had to be some seasoned veteran. And to challenge me to a special match like this, did they volunteer? Stepping up just to test my limits, huh? Stuff like this used to happen all the time in my old world, too. Just then, the sharp screech of a blade dragging against the floor echoed through the arena. Your name is Yu Chan-sok, right? I'm Lee Si-yoon. Let's see if you've got any other tricks hidden up your sleeve. Honestly, this stage feels way too small for someone like you. How about it? Care to go around with me? Hey, Yu Chan-sok. If this feels like too much of a stretch, you can back out. I'd completely understand. It is pretty sudden, after all. Seeing who had just stepped into the arena, I couldn't help but let out a bitter chuckle. Unbelievable. It's actually Lee Si-yoon, the one that annoying kid was bragging about earlier. She's literally ranked in the top 10 worldwide. And the sheer pressure and absolute confidence radiating off her right now, she's definitely not bluffing. She's a true, top-tier professional hunter. With the state of my current body, even with my spear, taking her on is going to be hell. But, for some reason, a wild grin spread across my face. If you want to test my limits, then bring it on. The referee looked completely taken aback. Wait, don't you need to rest? Lee Si-yoon saw the burning excitement in my eyes. Hey, it looks like you and I are cut from the same cloth. My smile grew even wider, my blood pumping with thrill. Alright then, let's see if the absolute best of this world is truly worthy of my respect. The man merely flicked his spear mid-combat, an almost effortless strike. Yet it sent shivers of pure excitement down the spine of one of the world's strongest. Because that single thrust didn't just perfectly parry her sword strike. The sheer force behind it was enough to send an S rank. An S rank powerhouse like Lee Si-yoon, skidding back over 10 meters. Her eyes went wide with absolute shock. Looks like an absolute monster showed up at the Hunter draft this year. You see, just 3 minutes ago, the referee had announced my special exhibition match. And my opponent? None other than Lee Si-yoon, a titan ranked in the global top 10. That definitely got my blood boiling. I wanted to see if the peak fighters of this world could actually earn my respect. And with that, our brutal clash began. The sheer scale of our fight left the entire stadium completely speechless. Even the referee was dripping with sweat, totally at a loss for words. He didn't even know how to commentate anymore. I deflected another one of Lee Si-yoon's strikes, but my face was anything but relaxed. I could feel the raw, terrifying power she possessed. How could such a small frame pack such an insane amount of physical strength? Her strikes are absolutely monstrous. A split second later, desperate to break her relentless combo, I spun the spear shaft in my palm and violently batted her blade away. I had to put 100% of my strength into that parry, forcing Lee Si-yoon to skid backward across the arena. But even then, she still looked completely unfazed. She was just testing the waters with me. She wasn't even going all out. Meanwhile, compared to when we started, my speed was already dropping drastically. I've been crossing blows with this S-rank freak for way too long now. Exhaustion was clearly written all over my face. It's not that she doesn't have any openings. It's that this damn body just can't keep up with my battle instincts. Lee Si-yoon was genuinely thrilled right now. It had been a long time since she'd faced a strong opponent like me. Even though we weren't on the same power level, I definitely proved I deserved to be called strong. She had been hoping for a long-awaited, all-out fight, but she could tell I was getting exhausted. Then, taking a step forward, Lee Si-yoon said, "You really did put up a good fight. I thought you'd only last about 5 minutes. I never expected you to hold on for 30 straight." With that, Lee Si-yoon dashed toward me at lightning speed. "Since you're already feeling exhausted, I'll make this quick and easy. Let's get you off this stage so you can rest." Seeing this, I couldn't help but tighten my grip on my spear shaft. My body was completely drained of mana, and there wasn't much ambient mana left in the air, either. I let out a long breath to calm my racing heart. I really didn't want to use this move, but it looked like I had no other choice. At the same time, I leaned back sharply, bracing myself for Lee Si-yoon's next wave of attacks. My eyes were locked dead onto Lee Si-yoon. The second she showed even a single opening, I would unleash the flame of paradox. And the moment I ignited that dark flame, Lee Si-yoon's eyes widened in sheer shock. But she pushed right through the attack, swinging her sword straight down, instantly slicing right through my strike. I knew I hadn't landed a hit on her, so I quickly leapt back to create some distance. A highly satisfied smile spread across Lee Si-yoon's face. The sheer force of her last strike should have made it impossible for me to dodge. Yet she never expected me to actually evade it. "And just what is that black aura swirling around you? You tried attacking me with it just now, didn't you? Too bad my sword cut right through it." I slowly spoke up, replying, "This is the flame of paradox." This ability was my absolute final trump card. Back when I was living in that other world, this was my go-to specialty. It was the power I trusted more than anything else. This black flame is totally different from ordinary fire. The only reason my clothes are still perfectly intact is because this black flame cannot burn physical matter. On the contrary, every single ember of this fire uses abstract concepts that I specify as its fuel. With my current power output, I can't ignite concepts that have a high ignition point, like the ego or rationality. The very next second, I charged forward fiercely, spinning my spear so fast it whipped through the air with a deafening crack. Right now, the only thing I can burn is my own fatigue. This realization left Lee Si-yoon absolutely stunned. "Your speed, it seems even faster than before. Don't tell me you were actually holding back." During our fight earlier, I completely ignored Lee Si-yoon's words. Moving like a blur of teleportation, I closed in right in front of her and instantly lashed out with my spear. Lee Si-yoon's eyes were wide with utter disbelief. "How did you recover your strength in such a ridiculously short time? Just how in the world did you do that?" The moment her voice dropped, her figure vanished from the arena floor. With a sharp whoosh, Lee Si-yoon matched my speed, moving just like a teleporting phantom. She appeared right in front of me, and the two of us swung our weapons at the exact same time. The chaotic clashing of metal rang endlessly through the air, but the longer we fought, the more Lee Si-yoon felt something was wrong. She felt deeply unsettled. The density of mana in the air was wildly fluctuating up and down. And since the arena's settings hadn't changed, there was only one possible explanation. And the reason for this anomaly was my flame of paradox. Just like regular fire releases energy when it burns matter, the flame of paradox releases mana when it burns abstract concepts. I used my remaining mana to ignite the flame, and the flame, in turn, burned away my fatigue to generate even more mana. It was a limitless, endless cycle, because once my fatigue was burned away, the battle would just give me new fatigue to fuel the flame of paradox, repeating the cycle forever. So basically, my specialty is a war of attrition. The longer the fight goes on, the weaker my opponent gets. Meanwhile, I can just stay in a semi-exhausted state and keep battling. Right at that moment, Lee Si-eun suddenly appeared right in front of me and swung her sword. With a sharp ring of her blade, that single strike from her completely shattered the arena. But, the attack completely missed me. Lee Si-eun slowly raised her head. Do you really want to keep going? I slowly walked out from the cloud of dust. Right now, I felt like a stubborn guy clinging desperately to someone's leg, refusing to let go. I let out a chuckle. I'm planning to drag this out into a battle of attrition, you know. And you want me to just give up? I can keep this going all day long. Didn't you know? I started taunting her. I wonder, does a stubborn jerk like me who doesn't know when to quit, happen to be your type? A look of sheer exhaustion flashed in Lee Si-eun's eyes. The reason she was so tired was because she had been suppressing her strength this whole time, fighting me at my level. If she had actually taken this seriously, she could have wiped the floor with me in a single move. I guess nobody really likes someone who doesn't know when to quit. When you set a tree on fire, all that's left is smoke and ash. And ashes that have already burned out can't be set on fire again. Even the flames of passion leave behind remnants. If everything is burned, if it all just burns to ashes, until there's nothing left but dust, that will be the moment the flames finally die out, which will also be the end of my life. Lee Si-eun glanced at the timer on her wrist. 4 hours and 17 minutes in total. By this point, I was completely beaten into the ground by her. She looked down at me and said, "You held out for a really long time. Do you still want to keep fighting?" But this time, I just threw in the towel. Please, just spare me. I'm literally going to die if we keep going. Because of my forfeit, the winner of the match was Lee Si-eun. Right then, she pulled a lollipop out of her pocket. When they saw that candy, her subordinates were completely stunned. Lee Si-eun casually tossed the lollipop over to me. Along with it, there was a business card. Here's a little reward for all your hard work. I slipped my card in there too. Make sure you give me a call, okay? I picked up the business card and took a look. It read, Jan Nabi, LLC, Team 3 Partner and Headhunter. Lee Si-eun leaned in and whispered, "We can talk about the details later. Call me once you're fully rested." 2.5 hours later, I bit down hard, crushing the lollipop she gave me. I was absolutely mind blown by the smartphone in my hands. Back in our era, the only IDs they gave us were handwritten pieces of paper. But this phone, not only could it verify my identity, it actually had apps dedicated to selling second-hand gear, plus messaging, calling, and so much more. It honestly reminded me of the alternate world I used to live in. It felt kind of like a telepathy spell. Right at that moment, a massive, towering guy walked up to me. "You're Hunter Yu Chan-sok, right? You look way more handsome in person than on camera." This dude had to be over 2 meters tall. After tracking me down, he also handed me a business card. It said TAEYA LLC, and his name was Yoon Sung-yeon. The whole reason he sought me out was to recruit me for his team. He told me that if I gained enough experience under him, I'd definitely make a huge name for myself. I looked up and studied his expression. He didn't look like he was lying at all. But suddenly, Lee Si-eun's face flashed into my mind. I remembered the faint blush on her cheeks, and how she insisted I call her the second I got some rest. And so, I tucked Yoon Sung-yeon's business card away. After all, I already had prior plans. Since I couldn't give him a solid answer right then and there, I spoke up. "I need some time to think it over before I make a decision." My response made Yoon Sung-yeon burst out laughing. "Did you really think I demand an answer right this second? I'll give you plenty of time to think it over." I thought he was going to be an easygoing guy, but out of nowhere, he slammed his hand down heavily onto my shoulder. I stared dead straight into his hostile eyes. He told me to think it through carefully. He even added that he believed I was a smart guy. With that left hanging in the air, he turned and walked away, leaving me standing there, completely stunned. And the reason I was so shocked was because I never expected him to be so aggressively blunt. Well, there was absolutely zero chance I'd ever join his guild now. I wouldn't even give it a second thought. 10 minutes later, I gave Lee Si-eun a call. I asked where we should meet up, and she texted me an address. It was a place called The Cabin, up on the second floor of the Hunter Association. She just told me to head straight up. Once I got to the second floor, sure enough, I spotted a shop named The Cabin. The staff member completely lit up when they saw me. After all, I was the man of the hour right now. "Welcome to The Cabin. The lady inside has been waiting for you." Seeing me walk in, Lee Si-eun turned in her seat and gave me a little wave. "I really didn't expect you to get here so soon. Did something happen?" I gave her a rundown of what had just gone down. Some guy wanted to recruit me into his guild. A seriously huge, bulky guy. Lee Si-eun's expression didn't even twitch. She stayed completely unfazed. "That guy you're talking about, it has to be Yoon Sung-yeon from the Tieback Guild. And since Yoon Sung-yeon himself took an interest in you, the other guilds naturally won't dare to come after you now." Hearing her say that, I just let out a dry chuckle. Wait, is even your guild scared of him? Because if that's true, man, I'd be pretty disappointed. But to my absolute surprise, Li Shiyun had no intention of recruiting me at all. What do you think about working completely independent of any guild? Like, as a freelancer? Now that definitely piqued my interest. It seemed like Li Shiyun was cut from a totally different cloth than the rest. She was basically saying I could take on guild missions without actually being shackled to one. Li Shiyun figured that Yoon Sung Yun was probably planning to offer me a junior position. The moment I heard that, I slammed my hand down on the table. He was only going to make me a junior? Then what the hell is a partner hunter? So Li Shiyun went ahead and broke it down for me. Hunters affiliated with a guild usually fall into one of 3 ranks: junior, senior, and finally, partner. The junior and senior hunters belong to teams led by a partner hunter. As for junior hunters, you can basically look at them as regular salaried employees. Partner hunters, on the other hand, hold guild shares instead of a fixed salary. They get a direct cut of the company's net profits. It's probably easier to just think of them as business owners. Man, that sounded exactly like how a law firm operates. Li Shiyun mentioned she'd heard that the hunters who founded the very first guild actually used a law firm as their blueprint. She felt there was absolutely no need for me to join a guild and slowly grind my way up from junior to senior, just to finally earn the title of partner. I immediately caught on to what she was implying. As long as I built up enough of a reputation and pulled off some seriously impressive achievements, the guilds would naturally come begging for me themselves. My quick understanding made Li Shiyun visibly happy, because she felt like we were totally on the same wavelength. But the one thing that still confused me was, why was she constantly handing me candy? Ever since I sat down, she had already tossed me 2 pieces. But, I don't have any connections, and I definitely don't have any resources. How am I supposed to get my hands on any decent commissions? Doing it this way feels like playing on hard mode. Li Shiyun just smiled and said that wouldn't be an issue at all. Because when it came to that, she had my back. And the fact that it's completely free, just makes me even more suspicious. I don't believe in free lunches. So, I want to know exactly why you're doing all this for me. At that moment, Li Shiyun reached into the file folder. In the future, when you've built up enough of a reputation and guilds start trying to recruit you, I just hope you'll remember the woman who helped you out back then. So, basically, I can take this as her wanting me to owe her a massive favor. Li Shiyun slowly slid the folder across the table toward me. Do you want to take a look at this? Whether you actually take the job or not, is entirely up to you. The woman had just made a simple request, but it left the man completely frozen, staring at her in shock. Simply because she thought he was incredibly strong, she decided that during this operation, she was going to shadow him the entire time to learn from him. To be honest, I really didn't care either way. If you can keep up with my speed, I don't mind having an extra person tagging along. As it turns out, just a short while ago, Li Shiyun had handed me a file folder. She told me to review the operation plan inside, but made it clear that taking the job was entirely up to me. I opened the folder and skimmed through it. It was a commission from Incheon City. There's a place called Gyeodong Island. 2 years ago, they tried to clear a corruption rift there. But, the operation failed, and as a result, the whole place turned into a corrupted zone. I initially thought she wanted me to clear out the rift, but instead, she just wanted me to patrol Gyeodong Island. I just had to check for any new corruption rifts popping up, and wipe them out if I found any. The mission was scheduled for a month from now, and she'd give me an upfront payment of 5 million won, with an extra 15 million won upon success. I tossed the documents right back onto the table. Considering this was a life-threatening job, the payout wasn't exactly what I'd call generous. Li Shiyun broke into an excited grin. If you think the pay is unfair, then get stronger and make a name for yourself. Once you do, the money won't stop flowing in, even when your pockets are already bursting. Right now, all she cared about was my answer. Was I in, or was I out? I took a slow breath and spoke. Well, since you put it like that, I guess I'm in. After all, I've always loved pushing myself to the absolute limit. 30 minutes later, 2 cars were tearing down the highway. Inside one of them, Li Shiyun was on the phone with a mysterious man, briefing him all about my existence. Yu Chan-sok. He's just a civilian. He somehow managed to clear a mandatory weapon tournament, completely barehanded. The man on the other end gave a fairly impressed response. Hearing his reaction, Li Shiyun burst out laughing. Oh, come on, that's a massive understatement. He actually fought me, for 4 solid hours. The moment she said that, the voice on the phone sounded absolutely stunned. Are you being serious right now? Wasn't that just because your powers were being suppressed? Li Shiyun let out a cold scoff. I am a veteran hunter. I've got over a decade of experience under my belt. Every single instinct I have was forged by surviving in literal hellscapes. Logically speaking, I should have been able to toy with him completely. But instead, we ended up brawling for over 4 hours. As she spoke, a crazy thought crossed her mind. Even if she were to be reborn, she highly doubted she'd ever meet another absolute monster like me. But look, no matter how highly you think of the guy, doesn't that mission strictly require hunters who actually have prior mission experience? Sure, his combat skills might be off the charts. But is he really cut out for teaming up with veteran hunters? Regarding that specific concern, Lee Si-yoon told the man not to worry at all. That was because she had already paired me up with someone who has more than enough experience to guide him. Then, the man asked her one final question. What happens if that kid actually reaches your level? Lee Si-yoon just let out a chilling smirk. I know this might rub you the wrong way, but honestly, that's your problem. So, Lee Si-yoon's answer was basically this. If Yu Chan-sok ever reached my level, maybe even the boss wouldn't be a match for him. Anyway, let's rewind to 1 month ago. I had ordered a package online. The delivery guy was grumbling non-stop. Man, this thing is heavy as hell. He complained, probably wondering what on earth I had actually ordered. After dropping off my package at the door, he hurried off to his next delivery. Once he was gone, I opened the door and dragged the package inside. A moment later, a long, black box was sitting right there on my desk. This was the weapon I had ordered online. Click. I flipped the latches open with both hands. The second I laid eyes on it, my eyes went wide with shock. The design of this thing was absolutely unreal. No matter how you looked at it, this spear was exactly what I had been hoping for. Fighting with this bad boy? Yeah, that won't be a problem at all. Next to it was a vial of green liquid. I'd heard this was an elixir. Basically, these elixirs are emergency potions used by hunters. They're packed with concentrated mana, which is an absolute lifesaver when you're running on empty. Normally, processing mana is kind of like getting water from a water cooler. You draw the mana from the air, store it inside your body, and then use it whenever you need to. But this elixir? It forces that whole process to happen in just a matter of seconds. Now, the way I use mana is a little different from everyone else. I skip the storage part completely. I just absorb it straight from the atmosphere and use it on the spot. The best part about this? I have an endless supply of it. On top of that, the constant flow of absorbing and releasing actually strengthens my mana circuits over time, letting me handle even more power. But, there is a catch. Until those mana circuits fully develop, the amount of power I can actually control is pretty damn small. Which means I can't pull off any massive attacks right off the bat. And since I don't have the luxury of time right now, I figured it was best to store up some mana beforehand. So, I downed the entire potion in one gulp. If I keep training like this for about a month, I should be strong enough to handle what's coming. Fast forward 1 month to Incheon Gyeodong-do. A massive line had already formed. These were all the hunters joining the raid. Once the staff verified my ID, I got assigned to Squad 8. I quickly made my way over to a sign, with a big number 8 painted on it, while I just stood there quietly. Everyone else was chatting up a storm. The payout for this month is gonna be huge. Yeah, but when are we finally moving out? Right as I closed my eyes to meditate, I suddenly heard someone calling my name. I turned around, and surprise, surprise, it was the rising star hunter, Han Sang-ah. She had chopped off a lot of her hair. Guess she finally figured out that having long hair in a fight just gives the enemy something to drag you around by. She had come looking for me because she wanted us to team up for this mission. Why me? I asked. There are tons of people here, why pick me? Her reason? She thought I was strong. And by sticking with me, she figured she could observe and learn from my fighting style. Honestly, I didn't know what to say to that. Great. Another piece of baggage. And knowing her, I wouldn't be able to shake her off anytime soon. Fine, I sighed. If you can keep up with my speed, then follow me. Just then, a staff member cut off our conversation. Alright, since everyone in Squad 8 is here, let's get started with the mission briefing. Since we have some first-timers with us today, so he's gonna explain some basic terms too. He asked the veteran hunters to just bear with him. Right now, the corruption rifts are classified into level 1, level 2, level 3, and unranked. The closer a rift is to level 1, the more dangerous it is. Also, the very first rift to pop up in a specific area gets a special codename, Alpha. Currently, the Alpha Rift on Gyeodong Island is located at the church in northern Insa-ri. Even though it's still an unranked rift, considering these things can power up at any given moment, we strongly advise you to stay away. Our mission is to patrol Yukne-ri and Gyeodong-mayan, to identify and clear out any extra rifts that might appear. Immediately, some angry grumbling broke out among the squad. You're seriously sending a newbie on a clearing mission? Are you guys out of your minds? But the staff member completely ignored him, and just led us straight to the drop-off point. Once we got there, I overheard someone saying how dangerous this place was. That even from far away, you could feel this bone-chilling energy, like it was going to freeze the blood right in their veins. Honestly, I thought they were being way too dramatic. Just then, Han Sang-ah tapped my thigh with the flat of her blade. She was motioning for me to get moving. The mission had officially started. The staff member shouted, "Everything happening on the island is being relayed to the offshore control room. So if you need backup, contact them immediately. Hunters, I wish you the best of luck." Once we arrived at our designated zone, the rest of the group started huddling up to make a plan. Our objective was to scout 2 separate areas within 1 week, but my voice quickly cut through their planning. I tapped the map on my phone and said, I think we should set up our base camp at Waseo Temple, and run our operations from there. That immediately pissed off a few of the guys. Who the hell are you? Never seen your face before. Are you just some rookie? More importantly, why the hell would we go to Waseo Temple? Don't think a rookie like you gets to boss us around. I totally ignored their attitude and just logically broke down the situation for them. You get a clear view of Yukne-ri from Waseo Temple. Plus, the old temple structures are still standing. We could easily use them for shelter. I mean, this is just basic common sense. Do you guys really not get that? But to my surprise, my suggestion only triggered them even more. There are plenty of places to sleep around here. What happens if we climb all the way up that mountain, and then get surrounded, huh? I let out a cold scoff. It's not like we're fighting an army of thousands. How on earth would you even get surrounded up there? But me snapping back just made them blow up. We are absolutely not taking orders from some inexperienced, no-name hunter. Honestly, it made me realize that no matter what world you're in, there are always gonna be idiots who completely defy basic logic. So, right in the middle of our argument, we made a quick decision. We were just gonna split up. You guys do your thing, and we'll do ours. I figured Han Sang-ah would be the only one tagging along with me. But unexpectedly, our little duo turned into a trio. I used my peripheral vision to quietly size up the guy walking next to me. His mana level felt just a tiny bit higher than Han Sang-ah's. If I remembered right, his name was Kim Min-jae. I was really curious about why he decided to follow us. But his answer actually made me chuckle. He said he figured it was the first mission for both of us, and he was worried that two rookies going off alone was just asking for trouble. So, he came along to keep an eye on us. It was kind of nice knowing that there was at least one reliable guy in this whole squad. But right at that moment, my eyes darted forward. I could already sense that something was wrong. I abruptly changed my direction, and while the other two stared at me in total confusion, I held up my left hand, signaling them to hold on a second. I made a quick hand gesture for them to stay put. I mouthed to them to stay completely silent, while I went over to the other side to check it out. Kim Min-jae peeked his head out to check our surroundings. He saw dozens of monsters sprinting through the forest. He panicked at the sheer numbers. He figured there had to be around 50 of them. He suggested we take a detour, but I held up my hand to calm him down. Don't panic just yet. What's your unique skill? But instead of answering, he blurted out, wait. You're not actually thinking of fighting them, are you? His words made my gaze turn dead serious. Hunters fighting corrupted creatures. Isn't that exactly what we're supposed to do? Now, I will ask you one more time. What exactly is your unique skill? After a moment, I found out his ability was fire-based. His most reliable spell was Fireball. Perfect. Alright, wait for my signal. You'll be the first to strike those monsters. Hearing this, Kim Min-jae was absolutely dumbfounded. He never expected me to just order an attack so casually. He couldn't quite process my train of thought. While he was still trying to wrap his head around it, Han Sang-ah chimed in. If Min-jae is initiating the attack, what exactly should I do? Kim Min-jae desperately tried to stop us. The three of us taking on 50 enemies is pure suicide. Besides, didn't you say this was your very first mission? We need to group up with the other hunters while we still have a signal. I shot him down, telling him they wouldn't make it in time. By the time they traveled from their current positions down to us, it would be way too late. They aren't like us. We came straight from Waseo Temple, while the other hunters are busy sweeping the coastline for different rifts. And another thing, I added. Blasting the radio to call them right now is incredibly reckless. There's zero guarantee that anyone who hears the signal will actually come to back us up. Plus, if these monsters scatter and run off while we're sitting around waiting, they could end up ambushing the other hunters. Min-jae finally calmed down and actually processed what I was saying. He realized I was absolutely right. And even if there happened to be hunters nearby, they might hold a grudge from our earlier arguments and refuse to help anyway. Which meant we were completely on our own against this horde. With the odds stacked against us like this, our only play is a preemptive strike. That makes your fireball the key to everything. I didn't have the time or patience to coddle him anymore. I laid out the strategy right then and there. First, Min-jae would blast the center of the horde with a fireball. I would cover the flanks to cut off their escape routes. After hearing my deployment, Min-jae was completely blown away. The plan was so precise, it was almost as if I had foreseen every possible outcome. To him, I sounded like a veteran commander who had survived countless bloodbaths. Just who the hell is this guy? The man had only executed the most basic spear techniques, yet it was enough to leave both of his teammates paralyzed with shock. Because with just that single strike, he didn't just slaughter dozens of rift creatures. He had completely obliterated the boss-level alpha bat. And even after pulling off something so insane, his expression remained perfectly calm. But what he absolutely did not expect was for his own teammate to point a gun right at his head. Just 10 minutes ago, I had briefed Min-jae and Sang-ah on a straightforward plan. But hearing my strategy had practically given the poor guy a heart attack. Could a rookie really come up with a strategy like this? We waited in the shadows for the perfect opening. Soon, a massive cluster of monsters grouped up together. Now's our chance. Do it. Min Jae instantly unleashed his fireball. A split second later, completely catching the horde off guard. A massive sphere of roaring flames slammed right into them. The explosive power of his magic was absolutely devastating. In the blink of an eye, the monsters were incinerated into pure ash. But now, he needed a few moments to recharge before firing his next shot. I'll hold off the attacks for him in the meantime. Right now, Min Jae brought his hands together, focusing all his energy right at his forehead, building up his power. The next second, I made my move. Moving at an unimaginable speed, my eyes were filled with pure killing intent. The priority right now was to stall these freaks, and buy Min Jae enough time to charge up another fireball. With just a single dashing strike, I sliced right through several rift monsters. To hit maximum efficiency, we absolutely have to split the workload. As the leader, I've got to look out for my squad. At least until that next fireball was ready to launch. Just then, one of the creatures lunged right at me, but I completely ignored its attack. With a wide sweep of my spear, I wiped out a few more of them. There was no way in hell I was letting these things get anywhere near Min Jae. Still, I couldn't hold them all off by myself. So, I had to bring Sang-Ah into the mix. I shouted out to her, "It's your turn." The very next moment, the sharp ring of a blade being drawn echoed in my ears. With just a single, clean strike, Sang-Ah sliced right through 3 goblins. She let out a long sigh and said, "Target cleared. It's all on Min Jae now." The second she finished speaking, a massive, blazing fireball flared up. Min Jae's spell was finally locked and loaded. "Hold on a sec," I yelled at him. "Wait till I'm out of the blast zone before you fire. It's gonna suck if you fry me too." As soon as I leapt out of the way, Min Jae unleashed the fireball with everything he had. The flames roared forward like a wild beast out of its cage, hurtling straight into the horde. Boom, right where I was standing just a second ago. A massive explosion ripped through the area. Good thing I had already jumped clear before the blast hit. I tightened my grip on my spear, right when the fireball struck. 2 of those monsters tried to make a run for it, but there was no way I was letting them off the hook. A few moments later, the thick smoke in the forest finally started to clear. I slammed the butt of my spear into the ground. Our little ambush plan worked like a charm. Sure, we managed to wipe them all out, but man, it took a lot out of us. I was just about to tell everyone what a great job they did, to give those 2 some well-deserved praise, when I felt something off right behind me. I spun around, only to find Min Jae aiming his handgun straight at my head. He looked completely deadpan, but then he broke into a cheeky grin. Do you mind stepping aside? You're kind of blocking my shot." I was completely speechless. I actually thought the guy was gonna shoot me. A second later, Min Jae fired. Pop, pop, 2 shots straight into the dead monster. He was tagging the carcass with a microchip. Once the mission is wrapped up and the area is secured, the scavengers he contracted will come by to pick it up. These scavengers basically harvest all the useful monster parts straight from the corpses. So, by planting these chips now, once we finish up our job here, the scavenging crew rolls in, processes the bodies, and harvests whatever looks valuable. After that, they appraise the loot, sell it off, and split the profits. They take their agreed cut, and the rest gets sent to the fallen hunter's family. I asked Min Jae if those guys were actually trustworthy. He told me not to worry about it at all. Getting a solid contract with a good scavenging crew is super important, he said. But right in the middle of our chat, I noticed one last monster hiding in the trees, glaring at us. Without warning, the thing suddenly lunged right at us. It shattered the ground, sending rocks flying everywhere. In that split second, I grabbed Min Jae and hauled him out of there. If I hadn't, we both would have been seriously crushed. Once we were a safe distance away, I unceremoniously dumped Min Jae onto the dirt. Min Jae turned to look at the monster, completely speechless. We just took out a massive swarm of those things, and now another one shows up? The creature let out a low, guttural chuckle, baring its disgusting, jagged teeth. My eyes narrowed. It looked like this thing was the boss of all those little freaks from earlier. Suddenly, the monster let out an ear-piercing shriek. Its roar echoed through the entire forest. Was it trying to call for backup? Damn it, I cursed under my breath. Why didn't you just attack us, along with your minions earlier? Why try to take on all 3 of us by yourself now? You've got a death wish. The boss monster just kept letting out that creepy, clicking laugh. I could feel the sheer magical energy radiating off of it. This was on a completely different level from those weaklings. I yelled out to my 2 teammates. "Stay back, do not interfere, I'll handle this guy alone." I could sense just how terrifyingly strong this thing was. If it comes after us, none of us are getting out of here alive. The 2 of them froze in shock. A monster this strong. Shouldn't all 3 of us team up to fight it? But I cut them off sharply. I'm only going to say this once. Fall back, right now. Don't make me repeat myself. Unless you want to go home with your heads detached from your necks. Hearing that, both of them stood there, absolutely paralyzed. What kind of psycho says something like that? I twirled my spear and shot them a look. You'd better listen to me. Get out of here, fast. I'm actually way better off fighting this thing on my own. That way, I can go all out without holding back. I let out a furious battle cry. Bring it on, you overgrown bat. In an instant, the bat boss and I clashed. Han Sang-ah tried to rush in to help, but Kim Min-jae grabbed her arm, stopping her. We can't step in right now. We'd only drag him down. And even though it looked like I was being pushed back by the boss, I really wasn't, because the truth was, not a single one of its attacks had actually landed on me. Not even once. It hadn't even grazed my clothes. On top of that, Han Sang-ah noticed something else. My sheer speed and my insane reaction time. It was unbelievable. If she were the one fighting, she would have been ripped to shreds by that barrage of attacks. Right then, I twisted my body, effortlessly dodging another one of the monster's strikes. And while I was dodging, I went straight into the counterattack. Wherever my spear struck, a trail of black flames followed right behind it, and the more those flames built up, the slower the monster became. So, even though it looked like I was fighting for my life, I was actually just playing with the boss. Han Sang-ah watched in absolute disbelief. Is he really a rookie hunter like me? Why does he fight like some kind of hardcore veteran? Meanwhile, the boss monster lunged at me once again. I smirked. Perfect timing. Let's see if you can actually make me go all out. The very next second, I dropped low and slid backward across the ground. Then, with a massive swing, I chucked my spear straight up into the air. Han Sang-ah gasped in horror. He just threw away his weapon? What the hell is he doing? Up above, the spear was already starting its slow descent. And right down below, the monster was closing in for the kill. Kim Min-jae was just as dumbfounded. How could he throw away his weapon? At a crazy time like this? In a split second, the beast was right in my face. But honestly, I wasn't panicked at all. I just stared blankly at the monster. Then, with a sickening thud, its head slowly slumped down right in front of me. Turns out, that spear I hurled earlier, was my killing blow. The spear came crashing down and punched right through its neck. And even with a massive hole in its throat, the damn thing was still twitching. I gotta hand it to the beast. Its will to live was insane. But, too bad for it. The fight was already over. I had to finish this, right here, right now. No way in hell was I giving it a chance to bounce back. Then, with my teammates staring in pure horror, I yanked my spear out and started stabbing the monster's head over and over again. Kim Min-jae was stammering. How did this happen? It looked like Ryu Chan's sick was totally pinned down. But then, in the blink of an eye, the monster just dropped. What the hell just happened? I turned around and called out to him. Hey, Min-jae, a freak like that showing up here, is that actually normal? Min-jae was clearly doubting it too. For something that isn't even the core of a corruption unit. Yeah, no. If this whole place really is a corruption zone, it should definitely be classed as a level 3, at the very least. You see, corruption units are ranked into 4 different tiers. During the mission briefing, I heard it loud and clear. Gyeodong Islands, Alpha unit was supposed to be unranked. But looking at this mess, it looks like the Alpha unit here has already mutated into a level 3. We had to report this to the higher-ups immediately. But when I laid out my theory, Han Sang-ah wasn't buying it. I told her to take a breath and actually think for a second. If it's not a level 3, I said, then there's no logical way to explain the absolute bloodbath going on right now. As I broke it down, the color completely drained from Min-jae's face. The power gap between an unranked zone and a level 3 is like night and day. If that was really the case, the number of hunters making it out of here alive would be next to 0. Yeah, we definitely needed to send an emergency distress signal to the top brass. This island was a complete death trap. That's when Min-jae threw out an idea. He wanted us to go rescue the other hunters first. He figured with my skills, even a level 3 wouldn't be a sweat. But I shut him down, instantly. How the hell am I supposed to track down and save every single hunter wandering around this massive island? I have my limits too. If I can't do something, I'm not gonna pretend I can. With just a single, icy glare, the man terrified his squad members into stunned silence. Putting his own survival and the mission above all else, he coldly rejected his teammates' plea for a rescue operation. Just 3 minutes ago, Min-jae was begging me to go save those guys. But I shot him down without a second thought. I don't take on suicide missions that push past my limits. I looked at them dead in the eye and laid it out. Our mission isn't to play hero for hunters who got themselves in over their heads. Our job is to confirm and wipe out all the new corruption rifts. And in our line of work, you can't expect 0 casualties. Han Sang-ah chimed in, still pushing it. But, what if you were the one trapped out there? How do you think you'd feel? Honestly, I had no idea what she was getting at. If you were dying, she pressed, wouldn't you feel bitter? Angry? Wouldn't you pray for someone to come save you? Hearing that, my face turned absolutely pitch black. So what, you're going out there to save them with a martyr's complex? I snapped. I wasn't saying this because I lacked basic human empathy. I was just dealing with hard facts. If you want to go play savior, fine. I won't stop you, but put away your damn bleeding heart. Sometimes, people just die, and there's nothing you can do about it. When death comes knocking like that, it doesn't care about my feelings or what I think. If it's my time, I'll accept it and die. But if I try to save a couple of guys, and the rift spreads out of control because of it, getting even more people killed? Now that would be a real sin. So, in times of absolute despair, you cannot afford to waver. If those two keep this kind of mindset while on missions here, they are never going to survive in this world. When night fell, we looked for a place to crash. We ended up finding an abandoned house. The whole building was completely empty. No signs of any corrupted monsters having been here, either. Kim Min Jae did a quick sweep of the place, but didn't find anything out of the ordinary. It was just really dark in there. But on the bright side, thanks to the lights, we could actually see where the other hunters were positioned. But if you ask me, those same lights were broadcasting our exact location, too. Which put us in serious danger. I mean, if it was just some low-level grunts, getting exposed wouldn't be a big deal. But if we ran into the alpha bat, or something like that, we'd be screwed. So, I pulled out my phone to send a warning message to the other hunters. This is Squad 8. Given the level of monsters we've been running into, the alpha corruption zone might have already upgraded to level 3. Leaving your lights on could get you killed, so keep them off if you can. If we could just destroy the core of the corruption rift, all these creatures would vanish. Because without the energy pouring out of that rift, the entire corrupted zone would collapse. I took a second to think about it. Honestly, this mission seemed pretty straightforward. It wasn't nearly as hard as everyone made it out to be. I decided to wait for the right moment to take out the rift. Before long, it was dead of night. Han Sang-ah was already fast asleep. And right next to them, Kim Min Jae was out cold, too. I quietly set down the proximity alarm right beside them. That thing goes off the second a monster gets too close, so I felt pretty safe leaving them behind. Once I slipped out of the house, I started darting quickly through the dark forest. Thank God I double-checked the Alpha's coordinates during the briefing. This was going to be a piece of cake. But right then, I felt that something was off. There was movement up ahead. I slammed to a halt and stared into the dark. That's when I heard it. That familiar, twisted cackling. I knew this was going way too smoothly. So it's you again, you bastard. Without missing a beat, I blasted it with fire. But as I whipped my head around, I realized, it wasn't the monster I thought it was. The thing standing in front of me had a face I'd never seen before. And it was massive, at least several times my size. The old alpha bat didn't even come close to this thing. Meanwhile, over at the Hunter Association HQ, all hell was breaking loose. We've lost the signal for half of Squad 5. We have to assume they're dead. The command team was in absolute shock. And then, the casualty reports from the other squads started rolling in. Damn it, what the hell is going on out there? The commander barked orders to contact main HQ for backup, while blasting out a priority SOS to every hunter in the sector. But then, another alert popped up. Someone was pushing toward the Alpha core. The commander yelled to send them a message instantly. Tell them to fall back right now. There's a lethal class monster up ahead. But it was only then that they realized, the guy rushing the Alpha was none other than Squad 8's Liu Changxi, which meant, he was the very first person to actually track down the corruption core. The commander ordered his tech team to tap into my terminal immediately. Just to see if I was even still breathing. I mean, a corruption core evolving like this? That had literally never happened before. And right in the middle of all that chaos, he was the only one who spotted it, and actually charged straight into the Alpha zone. We need eyes on him, now. In a matter of seconds, they bypassed my comms. Only to find me going head-to-head with a monster. Though, calling it a fight. Actually, I've just been running for my damn life. This bastard is way tougher than I thought. And crazy fast, too. Right after that, the Hunter Center finally picked up my comms. The monster on my tail is absolutely insane. I'm incredibly lucky to even be alive right now. Didn't your people do a recon sweep of this place before sending me in? Why the hell didn't I get a heads up about this? You absolute bastards. When I get back, I'm gonna shove a corruption core down every single one of your throats. My little outburst made them want to just mute my terminal altogether. As long as they confirm he's breathing, that's enough for them. Right now, I don't have the raw power to take this thing down in one hit. All I can do is chip away at its health, bit by bit. And then finish it off with my spear. But man, the monster right in front of me is just totally off the charts. This thing has absolutely no intention of going down. During the fight with the Bat Boss earlier today, I drew way too much mana out of Worm Island, leaving my overall power much weaker than normal. That's why I can't just leave Worm Island right now. I need to hurry up and find a spot on the island where I can absorb some mana. Just then, something caught my eye. I didn't expect to find exactly what I needed this quickly. Right there on the ground in front of me was a swirling black hole. Without a second thought, I just leapt right in. I turned my head and shouted at the massive beast on my tail, "Come on. Hurry up and catch me if you can. I've got a little something I want to test out." Meanwhile, the Hunter headquarters had completely lost my terminal signal. That's because I had just entered an Alpha-tier corruption core. Hearing the news, the commander's face went completely pale. Damn it all to hell. Once inside the core, I realized it was actually a whole lot cleaner than I thought it'd be. They previously told me that unranked and level 3 corruption cores didn't spread all that fast. So just how massive are the level 1 and level 2 cores? A moment later, I cleared the boundary of the corruption rift. And now, it was time to face the big guy. To be honest, I'm not usually the stubborn type. But if this bastard keeps pissing me off, I'm going to lose my temper. I slowly tightened my grip on my weapon. One of the biggest problems with the Flame of Ruin is that it spreads to absolutely every living thing around me. Even allies aren't safe from it. That's the biggest drawback of using the Flame of Ruin. With nothing but a basic thrust, the man instantly slaughtered the boss level lord of the Corruption Rift. The reason he was so unbelievably strong was his ability to absorb mana straight from the air and make it his own. Every single muscle in his body allowed him to unleash an unparalleled amount of explosive power. You see, just 3 minutes ago, my finger slipped and I ignited my spear. That's the terrifying power of the Flame of Ruin. It can incinerate literally anything besides me. So, once it reaches a level that I can't control, I absolutely cannot use it anymore. That's the major downside. Right then, a monster appeared in front of me. I viciously thrust my spear straight into the beast. The monster let out a blood-curdling shriek, and then went completely dead silent. I let out a light chuckle. And that's a wrap. After that, I began absorbing the ambient mana from the air, guiding it into my body and storing it up. The mana I drew from the air surged through every single corner of my body. It expanded my mana circuits, making them even more resilient. I let out a long, deep breath. And I actually exhaled a faint wisp of pure magical energy. The effects of this were just unbelievable. Completely beyond my wildest imagination. But right at that moment, a massive rift seemed to tear right open in the sky. I glanced up, not feeling an ounce of fear. Looks like I've still got a fight on my hands. A few seconds later, pouring out from that very rift, were several of those exact same monsters. Too bad for them, they were a step too late. My body had already finished its refinement. I wasn't scared of these guys in the slightest. In a flash, 3 of the beasts charged straight at me with murderous intent. I flicked my spear, getting into stance. You really are a bunch of brainless freaks. Don't you guys realize by now? Are sheer numbers completely useless now? The very next moment, these monsters were utterly shredded by the surge of my mana. They couldn't even touch the hem of my clothes. My current power is several times stronger than before, but it's still a far cry from my absolute peak back in the other world. If we're talking percentages, I've probably only recovered about 1% of my true strength. Right at that moment, a figure suddenly appeared right behind me. A silhouette, ready to ambush me. I instantly got a really bad feeling about this. When the hell did this bastard get so close to me? The very fraction of a second he launched his attack. I instantly backed off to create some distance. This freak had a humanoid body, but the head of a giant rat. Damn, the core of the Corruption Rift is on a completely different level. Now this actually piques my interest. I wonder just how many combo strikes a monster of this caliber can actually take. In a flash, I lunged forward, spinning the spear in my hands with terrifying force. I thrust my spear forward, but that rat-faced freak actually managed to block it. The rat-faced bastard even had the nerve to mock me. That strike of yours was way too slow. But what he didn't realize was, even though that thrust wasn't at my absolute maximum speed, it packed a hell of a punch. In fact, his weapon was already covered in cracks. I locked my eyes dead on him, and slowly muttered, Twin Moon Spear, first stance, pierce. The very next second, his body was violently blown away by the sheer force of my mana. I wasn't about to let up, so I kicked him while he was down. The damn monster didn't even comprehend what had just hit him. The Twin Moon Spear is my signature technique. It leaves a trailing blue phantom right along the path of my strikes. And that phantom trace? It perfectly replicates the initial attack, seamlessly echoing the strike 4 flawless times. If I were to just follow the path and attack normally, it would be nothing more than a simple 4-hit combo trick. But my true attack is entirely different from just blindly stacking 4 basic hits. Because those blue phantoms can actually attack the enemy autonomously, it transforms into an inescapable, swirling dance of the twin moons. Faced with this kind of modified, delayed combo strike, I really highly doubt this rat-faced freak has any sort of trump card left to actually beat me. And sure enough, the rat bastard took another direct hit. The very second he exposes a weak spot, I can absolutely one-shot him. And right now, it is time to end this. In the very next second, I rained down a relentless barrage of strikes onto his body. Every single one of my strikes carried a devastating 4-hit echo, so his body was quite literally on the verge of shattering completely. Before long, only half of his damn skull was even left intact. But, did he really think just dying and fading away would be the end of it? But just as I was winding up for another heavy barrage, a strange box suddenly materialized right in my hand. I slowly opened the box, and the moment I laid eyes on what was inside, I froze, absolutely stunned. Meanwhile, over at the Hunter Center, the entire place had descended into absolute chaos. The corruption rift was rapidly spreading outward from the center of Chowdung Island. And the constant, agonizing loss of signals from the strike teams It threw everyone into a state of sheer panic. Watching this nightmare unfold before his eyes, even the commander was at a total loss for what to do. This entire disaster was just completely beyond expectations. His eyes were filled with nothing but utter helplessness. Is this really how it all ends? He thought, unless a miracle happened right then and there. Otherwise, we could only stand here, watching helplessly as every last hunter got wiped out. But right at that moment, one of the officers suddenly yelled out, "Commander, you need to get over here and see this, right now." The officer rapidly reported, "We are receiving a broadcast from the hunter inside the Alpha Core Zone." He immediately patched the transmission straight through to the main screen. Every single channel in the room was now displaying my broadcast. And my message was simply a brief status update. Corruption core signal terminated. Target has been confirmed cleared. All corrupted entities engaged by the hunters are confirmed eliminated. Staring blankly at this alert, the commander simply couldn't believe his own eyes. He actually stood there and watched a miracle happen right in front of his eyes. After sending it, I let out a long sigh of relief and looked up at the sky. There were quite a lot of stars out tonight. But more importantly, the air was incredibly fresh. It was so much better than that other world from before. Let's rewind to 2 minutes ago. A massive horde of monsters was pouring out of the rift. In a flash, Han Sang-ah and her teammates dove right into the fight. She was already covered in wounds. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely hold her sword. But a split second later, fueled by some unknown surge of willpower, she grabbed her arm to steady herself. Forcing her grip tight around the hilt, her eyes locked dead onto the monsters in front of her. Their numbers had multiplied since daytime. And worst of all, when she and the others woke up, I was nowhere to be found. That's when Kim Min-jae called out from behind her, "Miss Han. Do you really think we're gonna make it out of here alive?" I'm freaking out right now. You honestly couldn't blame him for panicking. There was an absolute sea of monsters right in front of them. If those things charged all at once, they'd be trampled to death in seconds. Han Sang-ah glanced back at him. He was clearly at his breaking point. She didn't know if they'd survive this. And she didn't know how much longer she could hold on, either. But right now, she absolutely could not afford to fall. Suddenly, a hideous monster lunged straight for her. Her eyes turned razor-sharp as she ducked low. The power of lightning erupted from her blade. But then, a terrifying realization hit her. Her legs had completely gone numb. She had no idea when she'd lost feeling in them. But what really mattered was the 3 monsters that were already lunging right for her throat. Kim Min-jae was watching, paralyzed with fear. He didn't have a single ounce of strength left to help her. The monster snapped its jaws, inches away from tearing into Han Sang-ah's neck. Kim Min-jae squeezed his eyes shut. He just couldn't bear to watch her die. But 5 seconds passed. The agonizing scream he was expecting never came. When he finally opened his eyes, he was stunned. The monsters? They were completely gone, turned into absolute dust. The next day, I headed to Gyeodong Island to meet up with the others at the hunter-gathering point. But when I saw the state of them, my face darkened. I had no idea there'd be this many casualties. Did the corrosion rift go completely out of control while I was gone? Everyone stared at me in pure shock. Did you seriously clear out a level 3 corrosion rift all by yourself? They looked me up and down, taking in my scrawny build. Honestly, I didn't look like someone who could survive a level 3 rift, let alone clear it. I walked a little further and finally spotted the members of Team 8. Kim Min-jae practically jumped out of his skin when he saw me. He still couldn't wrap his head around the fact that I had solo cleared the rift. I let out a low chuckle. Let's just say my instincts kicked in before I even had time to think. I just wanted to protect my fellow hunters, you know? Things were going almost too smoothly right now. I definitely needed to play the good guy. It was time to completely ditch my old villain persona. Just then, someone called out to me from behind. He introduced himself as the branch manager of the Korean Operations Division. Park Yoon-tae was his name. I gave him a sideways glance and asked, "Are you the one who told me to come here?" Instead of answering, he told me to come with him. The mayor wanted to see me. I've honestly lost count of how many times I've been summoned like a dog. Bossing people around seemed to be a sickness with these old guys. But wait, that reminded me of something. The contract didn't say a single word about the payout for clearing a level 3 threat. Well, since I'm already here, might as well negotiate a better price. After I got out of the car, another guy came up to greet me. He introduced himself as Lee Pil-shil, a specialist in communication and cooperation. As we walked, he told me the mayor had been looking forward to this meeting for quite a while. When the report from Gyeodong Island came in at dawn, he was absolutely stunned. The chairman immediately ordered him to set up a meeting. He even cancelled his entire schedule just to sit down and have a proper chat with me. A rookie single-handedly destroying a level 3 origin. This is something that hasn't happened since the first generation hunters. Honestly, I didn't even know anyone had pulled that off back in the day. They must have been pretty badass. A moment later, I stepped into the mayor's office. A rather plump man appeared right in front of me. Welcome. I'm Park Ji-yeon, the mayor of this city. I'm so sorry for calling you out here on such a gloomy day. He then invited me into his private cafe area, wanting to sit down and have a real heart-to-heart. As the mayor of Incheon, the Gyeodong Island incident had been a massive headache for him. Dealing with it was an absolute mess, and negotiating with those overpriced corporate guilds was just way too difficult. I took a sip of my tea and calmly thought to myself, man, I really want to squeeze this mayor for everything he's got. Even knowing that I was technically still just a rookie on paper, he started showering me with praise. I honestly didn't get it. Why the sudden shift in attitude? Turns out, Incheon is one of the core regions of country H thanks to the outstanding infrastructure of Incheon Airport. An endless stream of logistics flows right through here. On top of that, thanks to the Free Economic Zone project, places like Songdo and Cheongna. These international cities are absolutely flooded with foreign investors. You couldn't even count them all. Massive amounts of capital flow through the Incheon metropolitan area, with resources constantly moving through the airport. He promised that all of this would ensure my path as a hunter was smooth, completely paved with success. Right then, I cut him off. I had a question I needed to ask first. Since you're offering such massive support, I'm guessing you want something in return, right? Like, say, helping a mayor with tanking approval ratings secure his re-election? The mayor gave a dry cough. You're certainly well informed. Smartphones really can do anything these days, huh? I had looked him up online. His term was set to end early next year, and just by observing the situation, the general consensus was that his chances for re-election were practically zero. Cold sweat started pooling on his forehead. You don't pull your punches, do you? Actually, to even get involved with this request, wouldn't you need official permission from the Incheon city government? It's not as simple as just posting a public notice. As a newbie, I actually did need the mayor's permission to enter the area. If he played his cards right, he could go around bragging that I was some prodigy discovered by Gene from the Genius Guild. It was obvious he wanted to weave me into his little political narrative. He wanted to steal all the credit for my hard work. The mayor went on, saying that thanks to the infrastructure he mentioned earlier, as the mayor, he maintained close ties with a ton of domestic and overseas companies. He tapped the coffee packaging on the table. For example, the modeling contract for this specific brand is about to expire. So, we could totally get your face printed on the packaging. And that's not all. There are infinite possibilities here. But right then, I cut him off again. I must look pretty cheap to you, huh? That's definitely how you're seeing me. Hearing that, the mayor's smile completely froze on his face. He looked totally caught off guard and embarrassed. I've been watching the news lately, I continued. The world is desperate for a fresh face. Someone who can break through all this gloom and doom. The look in my eyes shifted, turning dead serious. What I mean is, everything you're claiming you can't give me is stuff I was gonna take for myself sooner or later anyway. Isn't that a bit unfair, though? The mayor had a few other proposals, too. Like offering to filter out the safest and highest paying commissions, just to hand them all straight to me. But honestly, to me, a proposal like that is just completely and utterly boring. I just waved the mayor off and turned to leave. Please pass on my congratulations to the model endorsing their coffee. Since I turned the offer down, that model gets to keep their job being the spokesperson for the brand. Meanwhile, in a tunnel under a bridge somewhere else, two people were meeting. One of the men spoke up. It seems the experiment on Chaodong Island was a failure. The man kneeling on the ground could only apologize over and over, but he added that he also had some good news. Hearing the words, good news, a spark of interest instantly lit up the man's face. And the good news from the kneeling man was a video clip from the Hunter Association's qualification exam. It was footage of me using the Wheel of Flame. As he watched the video, a sly smirk crept onto the man's face. Well, consider me impressed. What a fascinating rookie.